Welcome to the Tirreno-Adriatico, the race between the two seas. Slightly amended format today, just 5.4 kilometres of individual time trialling, replacing the team time trial that should have been due to stormy weather and a damaged course. So tight and highly contested it will be. So the wind is blowing up and kicking up a bit of a storm. The weather, of course, has had its impact. Is going to be a course today that I guess could suit many. Will it be the punchers? Will it be the rollers? Will it be the GC boys, the sprinters? Everybody has got an option. It's time to go racing. The wind, as you can see, has ebbed, believe it or not. It's 13 kilometres now. It's probably gusting to about 20-25. It's a crosswind at the finish. Today, it is sunny, thank heaven. They've had horrible storms in this part of the world, and it damaged the course that was due to be contested by the teams in a team time trial, just over 20 kilometres. Now it's been cut to just over 5. And forget the teams, it's about the individuals, race against the clock. So all change, at least at the top of the Tirreno-Adriatico. It'll be individual time trials, top and tail. But this is our amended course today. Much shorter. 6 turns in total, but 4 real 90 degrees, and then of course a hairpin at which they make the turn. That's where we will be taking our intermediate time at that point, and then a race almost straight, apart from a little road transition late on up to the finish line. As you can see, that little shimmy, and then we head for where the clock will stop. So it's kind of cast all bets asunder today, because it could suit the fast men, the punchers, and maybe even some of the proper TT guys who contest the general classification. This is your altimetry, and as you can see, barely a waiver. I think if they ran over a Mars bar, it would have more impact than the little rise that they've got today. It's about the corners, and it's about coping with the wind, and of course it's about motivating yourself. This man, highly motivated, one of our 3 Grand Tour winners from last year, who are here, Contador, saying this is come here calmly. Last year it was a challenge. I wanted to win every single race, but I'm being a bit calmer this time by. I'm, of course, looking to the Giro in 2 months' time, and so it's a question of balancing your energy, and this race is, of course, important for my preparation. So very much focused on the coming months and not necessarily here. But he also acknowledges that it's an extremely high level, and despite Froome's absence, he says, we're all here. The very best of cycling, despite the absence of Froome, he says, and he's expecting this to be a beautiful race with the top cyclists on display. Giro champion, saying I was second last year here, and I like this race very much, he says. This year, though, I have some different goals. A little bit quieter, just being more tranquil, he says, and I hope that I can keep the same rhythm as my competitors. So it's a question of just keeping up, he says. In the end, it's my first race in Europe. I like it. I've got a real passion here for this place. place, and just like the people who come and watch, the supporters. It's good motivation for me to come back and achieve some good results. Nibali, Tour de France winner, says, I'm okay, but not at my best yet. I'm working for it. Tirreno-Adriatico is a difficult and important race. And with many top names at the start, we'll see day by day. There are many important finishes like Terminilo and, of course, an intense prologue as well to start us all off. And so we'll see day by day what happens and whether I feel it's important for me to go for it.
Diventa un cronoprologo molto intenso e vediamo un po' come va. Se c'è un giorno particolare
so if at any particular day I find myself in a good race situation, then obviously I'm going to try and achieve a good result overall. But it won't be easy, he says. I'm not trying, I'm not going all in effort-wise, he said. Last year my season started badly, and then I got better and better, and this year the season has started better, but I've not done any high altitude training. And I haven't bothered to do that to be fit. So he clearly feels that he's not absolutely at his best just for the time being.
Sappiamo tutti che la mia stagione è molto più improntata più avanti e vediamo poi dopo passo dopo passo come arrivare in forma.
So it's a question of form, and everyone's kind of turning the wick down at the moment. We are already underway, and we already have some pretty decent benchmarks that have been set out there. Andrei Grivko, as you can see, on something of a charge. There is Daniel Oss's time, which stood very, very early on. The man from BMC going out with a 6.08. Grivko, 6.13. Edvald Bosenhagen, one of the punchers, expected to go well. In fact, at the intermediate split, he looked to be in an extraordinarily promising position. Timekeepers then put their thumbs back where they should have been, and unfortunately that time was not quite as good as we thought it was going to be. Still a very tasty effort by Edvald Bosenhagen, and in fact MTM Quebec come to this race, of course, with Grand Tour ambitions for this season. They'll be at the Tour de France and at the Vuelta d'Espagne. Not in the Giro, but very much part of proceedings and our thoughts today. And if not Eddie Boss, then perhaps someone like Tyler Farrar might produce something of a surprise. It is a tight course, and so it can, this short distance, throw up some surprises. Edvald Bosenhagen in attacking mode late on, but good enough for second place as he crossed the line as we stand. So, some surprises. No surprise that BMC were motivated, and we believe that having prepared for the team time trial, you saw Oss's time on your screens a few moments ago, so this is out of sequence, but this is our best so far, and it was a really good out-of-the-box performance by Oss, Dan Lloyd.
Yeah, one of the very early starters. So as you said, Carlton, his time has stood, well, for quite some time already. Edvald Bosenhagen was quicker than this man at the intermediate check by a single second, but lost 5 the latter part of the course to this man. 4 seconds down on Daniel Oss. As you can see there, average speed close to 53 k's per hour. And whilst we would expect this time to be beaten by the late favourites, amongst them Cancellara, Sagan et al., I think that will stand a test of time, perhaps for another half an hour, maybe even an hour yet.
I think you're absolutely right. Today's course is not as sinuous as perhaps some would have hoped. We've got 4 focused 90-degree turns, as well as the hairpin, which will take you back down on the correct side of the road, as we are at the coast here at the Lido de Camaiore. It's one of 2 now individual time trials, and it's altered the complexion, Dan, of the entire race, really.
Yeah, very much so, especially for some of the weaker time trialers who might have perhaps expected to get a bit of a buffer on some of their rivals after a team time trial, dependent, of course, on how good their team is in team time trials. I can see exactly why the organisers did this. You only have to look at the carnage on the roads from the last few days to see how windy it's been here. And yeah, of course, if you do have that kind of wind in a team time trial and your riders are just thrown across the road suddenly with a gust, and it can be very dangerous. Your front wheel can be wiped out. So they've changed it to this individual time trial or prologue because it's so short, 5.4 kilometres in length. So it is extremely punchy. Perhaps one for the slightly younger riders, maybe. I'm just wondering whether the actual bookies' favourite, Fabian Cancellara, is just getting on in age a bit. You do seem to find that as riders get that little bit older, they don't have that punch over such a short period of time in a prologue, especially when they're coming out fresh.
We're just looking at the course, giving you a long view of it, courtesy of Danny Bernati right now. And you saw there's a little shimmy which takes you wide before the hairpin. So it flattens out the hairpin. It's more of a lozenge, I guess, if that makes sense. Well, half a lozenge, cut lengthways. So, yes, it does give them a less focused approach. And on these bikes, that's what they want, Dan. I've seen riders come croppers on hairpins on time trial bikes in the past.
Yeah, they just feel so much different to your standard road bike. It's a heavier steering feel at the front. You're lower down, of course, as well, even when you're on the, compared to being on the drops on your road bike. So, you know, it does give an advantage to the riders who do spend a fair amount of time on their TT bikes. But even these days, you find that not that many riders are keen to spend time on the TT bikes. They much prefer the position of their road machines. And so unless you're a rider who's capable of finishing right up there in a prologue or in an individual time trial, the majority of riders still spending most of their time or all of their time in training on their road bikes.
So there you have it. We're about 90 riders in off the start line thus far. We're here at the first stage of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico, a shortened stage, 5.7 kilometer individual time trial. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. You're watching Bein Sports. Kirby and Daniel Lloyd on Bein Sports.
Yes, so a couple of the battles then have been neutralised, but as Nathan Haas crosses the line with a 6:23, let's just spare some time, shall we, to explain what the Tirreno-Adriatico is about then, as they still come thick and fast off the ramp right now. Dan, it's still very much, as Jelle Vanendero gets about to get underway, it's still very much a race which has always badged itself as a mini Grand Tour, and it's still got that feel about it, despite the fact that we now have 2 individual time trials.
Yeah, it's a race which, as you've already mentioned, Carlton, is in its 50th year now. This is the 50th anniversary of Tirreno-Adriatico, or 50th edition of it. And has typically played second fiddle to Paris-Nice, which has a much longer history. This one was favoured very much so by the classics riders for many years who were looking to prepare for Milan-San Remo and going on from that Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. In fact, I think the winner of San Remo came from this race for something like 10 years in a row. It was only recently that somebody from Paris-Nice once again took the win in La Classiquisme. I said that completely right. I don't even know why I tried to say that. It was always going to go wrong.
Yeah, write it down.
Milan-San Remo. But more and more we're seeing the big GC riders coming here as well. We've certainly got 3 of the 4 best in the world still here, despite Froome's absence. We've got Quintana, Nibali, and of course Alberto Contador as well, who's going for the Giro Tour double this year. So it's an amazing start list. I'm still very much looking forward to all of the stages, because we've got so many good sprinters, classics riders for the uphill finish in a couple of days' time, and of course the GC riders we've mentioned for the overall on the mountain and the time trials, etc. as well. So it's going to be a fascinating race and a good indicator for us of some early season form or not.
Yes, and in all departments, to be honest, Dan. We've got punchers that can enjoy their day. The GC boys have got some fun as well in the high stuff. And then, of course, the time trialists will have a go. And we've got sprinters here. We do have Mark Cavendish, incidentally, but apparently he's got a bit of a tummy bug, and it's not the end you'd want it. Work it out yourself. But he missed out on the press conference yesterday. Peter Sagan looked phenomenally bored yesterday. He doesn't exactly fire himself up, lets his legs do the talking, obviously, but
he's always like that in press conferences, to be honest, and in interviews, even when he's won.
Do you know what? I couldn't have seen anyone more relaxed, as if they were sort of sulking because they're waiting for their dinner, which, of course, he probably was. But nonetheless, we'll see what Sagan could do on the punchy stuff, and whether Mark Cavendish has recovered sufficiently. I imagine he's always phenomenally motivated when it comes to any race day, so expect Mark to go extremely well. It'd be hard to beat tomorrow, but in fact, one of the questions at the press conference to Peter Sagan was, do you think that you can beat Mark Cavendish in an out-and-out sprint? At which point he kind of snorted.
Well, I mean, the answer was...
Shut up.
Well, there was nothing memorable in the answer, which is why I can't remember what he said, but it was a very short answer. Let's put it that way.
Yes, exactly. It is a short course as well today. Nothing that would trial many of you, even clubbers, I guess, might feel that they've got a chance of going well on just a course of 5.4 kilometres. But differences that are thrown up today are going to be useful to carry, although I think Alberto Contador, despite talking himself down for this one, is... how can we put this? He's an ultimate competitor, isn't he? So I think he still remains out-and-out favourite, despite a very busy schedule he's got ahead of himself, which is why he's saying he's going to be calmer this time.
Yeah, he's, as I just mentioned, set out to do the double this year. The one that they say people can't do in this day and age. That's to win the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France, both of which are races which he's won before, but never in the same year. It's a big task, but as his manager, Diana Rees, keeps on saying, if there's one man that can do it, it is Alberto Contador. He's started the season with a bang, finishing just 2 seconds behind Chris Froome overall at the World to Andalusia. That was a kind of a ding-dong battle, really. Alberto taking the lead after the first mountain stage, beating Chris Froome by around about 30 seconds. But the tables reversed on the next mountain stage and finishing a disappointing second. But he's a real competitor, a little bit like Sagan in many ways, in that despite the fact that his big aims are still to come, he certainly won't be holding back in a race like this. And of course, he's defending champion as well.
Yes, he's the sort of man, Contador, that if he gets tempted, a bit like a breeding salmon, which isn't even supposed to feed. You dangle a fly and it'll just go for it instinctively. And I think that's what he does. He just can't help but feast upon potential success. So watch out for Contador. Jelle Valander, we're just tracing him at the moment at the top of the course. He makes the turn at the intermediate split. And the clock rolls on for him. I think if you can approach that 6-minute mark, a magic 6 minutes mark, and I think we might well get it much tighter to that, despite what Ossa's done early on. Benchmark time 6 minutes and 8 seconds just for now. You say Contador started the season with a bang, so unfortunately did Quintana, but not the bang he would have wanted, unfortunately. Took himself a tumble in the Nationals, and so we're really not sure of his form.
No, he was at the Tour de San Luis, which he won last year. I think he was 2nd or 3rd overall this time around. But as you said, he then went on to the Colombian National Championships, took a tumble and had to withdraw from Andalusia. So this is his first big European, or first European race, full stop actually, of 2015. You can never count Quintana out, though. Many of you will remember that when he came second at his very first Tour de France a couple of years ago behind Chris Froome, he hadn't raced since Liège-Bastogne-Liège, which was a couple of months. So he's not a man who's not good at training. He can get himself into form just by training on the mountains in Colombia and his base in Europe. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him right up there on the mountains. Last year, of course, Contador getting the better of him, both in the time trials and in the mountainous stages. But I think it'll be a big fight between those two, and of course some of the other protagonists, which we've also got here.
Yes, indeed. Valander just coming towards the end of his run, as you can see. He's still got quite a way to go, and I don't think he's going to break Daniel Oss's time. It won't be a bad time, nonetheless. It does, this course, lend itself to surprises, doesn't it?
It's one of those things, almost like a team time trial, which you can get so wrong. Such a short effort, 5.4 Ks, the current leader 6 minutes and 8 seconds. That is a horrible effort, really. It's not a sprint effort. It's not one of those kind of 2K prologues which we sometimes get in the Tour of the Romandy, etc. But it's also not a time trial which you can get any kind of rhythm in. You're kind of balancing on that anaerobic effort, and it's a really good one, a really hard one to judge correctly. Daniel Oss seems to have really got things right. Looking through a number of riders who've pushed him close or even edged in front of him at the intermediate check, have then lost quite a handful of seconds on the run-in down this very, very straight road towards the finish. So he seems to have judged his pacing perfectly. Not a hugely star-studded lineup for BMC here. 74th place there for Van Aert. But a well-rounded squad. They've got Van Avermaet, who's here preparing for the Classics. They've got Quinziato, who could be interesting today. He's a rider who was very good in the past at time trial. I think he might have even been European junior or under-23 champion, or something along those lines. But last year really seemed to find his form again in these individual events, and I think he'll be looking to try and post a good time as well.
Oh, we're here in stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. 102 riders out of 175 to race today have left the line. We'll have continuing coverage when we return. You're watching stage 1 on Bein Sports. Welcome back to Lido di Camaiore. This is stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. Leaving the line right now, Joaquin Rodriguez. That's the 105th rider to leave the line today of 175. We send it back now to Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd on the call.
And to be honest, if the main contenders for the Grand Tours are busy monitoring their form, this is the kind of event where Joaquin Rodriguez can really put in some decent gaps when it gets to the mountains. So don't bet against him on stages, particularly Uran as well, who early season just seems to have it. Joaquin Rodriguez as well can go well early. He sort of comes out of the winter ready for it. I guess with such a diminutive frame, you haven't got much place to put any packaging, and so he comes out lean and mean, and of course likes to stick it to what are now bigger names than he. Whenever he can. Brent Buchwalter on a charge. We said BMC were charged and ready to go.
Yeah, he's the man that I was mentioning. He first came on my radar when he finished second in the opening time trial of the Giro d'Italia. I think it was in 2009 up in, actually 2010 up in Holland. Not going to be his day-to-day. He was 12th at the intermediate time check, 3 seconds down on Borsenhagen, but certainly not a bad time. BMC, as you said, Carlton, coming here with some riders in great form for this time trial. 21st across the line, 10 seconds down on his teammate Os. So, yeah, not going to be right up there in the top 10, of course, for Buchwalter today, but they've got a few more riders to come, and they've got Caruso in this race, who's moved over from the Cannondale squad. He'll be their man for the GC. Here is Heyman from Orica Greenedge. Yeah.
that little transition. Heyman came into that last corner like a bat out of hell, almost clipping the curves. I was slightly worried for him. Here's your split.
Yeah, he's just coming through, and it will be up on my screen in just a few moments' time. Stibar, I can tell you, who is the man in front of Heyman. Well, he went through in 3 minutes and 41 seconds, just 1 second down on our leader at that point. Heyman, 3 minutes and 47 seconds, 7 seconds down at the intermediate check there. It will be interesting to see the next man through as well, Javier Moreno, who is riding for Movistar. He took a big win in Andalusia recently in a similarly lengthed time trial, stage 1B. So he's a man on form in this kind of event.
Yeah, I don't know how much we're going to see of Moreno, but I think the Movistar rider has got something special for us. Just hooking back with our Strade Bianche winner, Stibar, likewise looking reasonably comfortable. Very much looking forward to seeing how Mark Cavendish goes, to be honest. He can, on these shorter time trials, go very well. In fact, in team time trial, he's pretty good time trialist full stop, actually.
Yeah, especially, as you said, in these flat, short time trials, they're perfectly suited to him. He's won a couple in the past, in the Tour of Britain and Tour of Rome, indeed. But he has been suffering from quite severe illness, I think, since he visited South Africa a week or so ago. He tweeted this morning that he's been visiting the bathroom on a number of occasions the last few days.
Yes, it's not just to brush his teeth. Stibar then heading for the line. Now, just watch how the times suddenly spin away. About 17, you'll see it jumps there, 13, 16, and 23rd all of a sudden. A lot of riders cramped together in almost the same time. So there's not going to be many wide yawning gaps as they go and contest the first proper road stage tomorrow. But yeah, I'm expecting this man to actually produce something half decent. Matt Heyman on course at the moment. He's just coming into the barriered section, and as you can see, he's got just about 20 seconds to get through this last section. It's almost painful watching it approach. It's the foreshortening of the camera probably just doesn't help your view of it, and as you can see, he's really at the end of his resources right now with 300 meters to go. It's not going to be the best time so far, but it'll be a reasonable one, but it does spin out, as we've already said. So not much heartbreak today. Even if you do finish outside the top 20, it means that your plans remain intact.
Yeah, I think you know, there's separate classifications almost, isn't there, for this for an event like this, a prologue. You've got the riders like Cancellara, perhaps Peter Sagan, and the other favourites for the stage itself, who are looking for glory on the day, and then you've got all of the riders that are looking towards the general classification, the likes of Contador, his teammate Kreuziger, Rodriguez, etc. They're all going to be comparing themselves against the other GC contenders and hoping not to lose much time, and if anything, trying to gain time before the hilly stages even start.
This is Moreno. Well, we're expecting great things of him, courtesy of what he did in Andalusia. thought he may well be hyper-motivated for this. Movistar, well, they come with kind of protective mode at the moment, and yet again Moreno is not going to bust Daniel Oss's time. It's looking more and more solid, the efforts of our BMC rider, and Moreno is going to be, well, outside the top 10 by the looks of things by the time he crosses the line. It really does suddenly just vault into the 20s. In fact, I think we've got about 20 riders within 3 seconds of each other on such a short run, and in fact Moreno has disappointed. 6:26 for Moreno, something of a surprise, but I guess he went all in at Andalucia. Waiting for Alexis Villamos of AG2 La Mondiale, a team that are short-handed down at the top of this race. Waiting for Rodriguez then on his approach. Just coming up to the 6-minute mark, and this is going to be a bit of a lackluster performance. He doesn't look comfortable. He's rocking and rolling all over the place. The head is got too much lateral movement. You can see the top of the bike, actually just the frame is just moving over the road, and I'm afraid it's not going to be one to write home about. There we are. Maybe you'll just concentrate on writing to the Easter Bunny and hope that after Easter things get a bit better.
74th for Rodriguez at the intermediate check, 13 seconds down. He's going to be some way down the order today. As you said, Carlton, he quite often does go reasonably well in the opening part of the season, but hasn't got an amazing record by his standards here at Tirreno-Adriatico. I think the best he's finished is 5th overall here. So 71st provisionally for him, 27 seconds down, a little under 50 kilometres per hour average. Again, I think that just showing the differences in comfort on a time trial bike. I presume Rodriguez doesn't spend a huge amount of time.
Davide Formolo. This is a man many are talking about as potentially one of your outside winners of the Tirreno-Adriatico. I guess he needs to go well here.
Yeah, he's a real star of the future, that's for sure. He's very young. He's come over from the Cannondale team last year, where they brought about 7 riders from there towards the Garmin team, now known as Cannondale Garmin. But he's just an amazing talent. He came second to Vincenzo Nibali last year at the Italian National Championships, the only rider to stay with Nibali in the race, and he's just very consistent as well, steadily progressing in his very short career as a professional. Very good climber, and we're going to see a lot of him over the next couple of years. Now, in fact, you know, as you said, I think he could do something surprising here as well. He's got some very, very big names to compete with, but I think he'll be right up there with the best on a couple of the hillier stages.
I think you're absolutely right, and he has rider Ejudal, who will be looking after him. Ryder Ejudal coming through, former Giro winner, of course, not with the best of times. And I think that was possibly just to badge himself up for duty here. He will be, however, going for the only 50th at Ryder Ejudal at the moment, 19 seconds down. He will be, of course, focusing on the Giro d'Italia again, Ryder Ejudal. And so he's offering himself as a sacrificial lamb. Big lamb. Big bit of mutton. Helping out Formolo in this event. So Formolo needs a decent time trial now. It's perhaps a measure of the importance of it, and he knows it. And when he exited one of the turns a little bit earlier on, you can see how heavily he clips it. He's not hanging back at all. This is a proper, sustained and determined effort.
Yeah, he's 1 minute, he started 1 minute at least behind Basso, who came through that check. In 3 minutes 46, 33rd place. I will give you the time for Formolo there as soon as we get it on our screens, but it seems to be he's going to be around about the same time, I think. There we go. 54th place at 10 seconds. But not a time trial specialist by any stretch of the imagination. It's something which he will have to work on as he progresses his career, hopefully into a stage race contender and perhaps Grand Tour contender. And he's in the right team to do that now. Garmin, historically, and Slipstream, which is the parent company of the team, spend a lot of time with their riders, trying to make sure they get into the right position on the bike, which of course makes a huge, huge difference. So I'm sure they'll work with Davide over the forthcoming years to improve his time trialing ability.
We're here at stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico in Lido di Camaiore. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. About 115 riders have left the line. We'll be right back on Bein Sports. Welcome back to stage one of the Tirreno-Adriatico. If you're just joining us, today's first stage shortened to an individual time trial of 5.7 kilometers from the longer team trial stage due to some weather over the past few days in the area. Your current leader is BMC rider Daniel Oss. Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd have your call. Stage one of the Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports.
And Daniel Oss with a 6.08. It's lasted longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, well, it's going to last for a while yet. I think the big wave of riders pretty much for me starts at 13 minutes past 3 local time. And that is when Nicky Terpstra of Ethics Quickstep will roll off the start ramp here. He, of course, won the time trial that wasn't much longer than this over in the Tour of Qatar, which was done on road bikes. And after that, we've got a plethora, really, of very good time trial riders. Castro the Echo 2 minutes after him, Jesse Sargent 2 minutes after him, who came in the top 3 in a prologue just a week ago in the 3 days of West Flanders. Then Peter Sagan 3 minutes later. Rendley, former hour record holder, strong time trialist. Quinziato, Mark Cavendish goes off at 35 minutes past 3. Then we've got Mallory, who's the big local favourite. Really stepped things up in the time trial over the last couple of years. Bodnar, who was right up there in Qatar as well. Steve Cummings rolls off at 12 minutes to 4, riding for Etienne Quebec. He started the season off with a bang as well. Nibali, a few minutes after that. And then in the last 10, we've got Rigoberto Urán, Luke Durbridge of Omega Pharma, Orica Green Edge. Then Quintana. Cancellara starts 4th from last. And the last man off, of course, is last year's winner, Alberto Contador, at 4 minutes past 4.
So, plenty of time trialling to come. If it's your thing, then you're going to have an absolute feast. This is Serpa coming across now, and 6:30 again down there in the realms of the Formolos and the Ejidals. There we go. Well, Sky are here with their private number plates and their Jags, and a powerful outfit. This is Konstantin Switzer. Of course, it was all designed to look after Chris Froome in the great early battle of the greats. And in fact, if you want to distill that even further, of course, Froome versus Contador, a fantastic battle that we saw in Andalusia and the Ruta del Sol. Sadly not to be repeated because Chris Froome is unwell. But Switzer is here. Leo Koenig and Michael Nieve, their choices, and Eli Viviani for the sprint. So expect the name Sky to at least feature high up on the leaderboard, or indeed on the stage board, a number of times. 35th home for Switzer this time by. Just looking down to Lotto Jumbo. Sepp van Mark is here. We're looking at Paul Martins at the moment. Laurens ten Dam as well can't be ignored on particularly some of the peakier climbs.
Yeah, he had a nasty crash, didn't he, on stage 1A of Andalusia. Lots of riders coming down at a very, very high speed. I think he's still kind of recovering from that. He took a week pretty much off the bike and got back into some steady riding. So he'll be here using the race to try and get back into some good form. But like you said, Carlton, so you can never count a man like Laurens ten Dam out. Paul Martins has been performing pretty well as well in the Vuelta Algarve at the start of the season in February. He was right up there on a couple of stages. A punchy rider, not an out-and-out sprinter, but throwing a couple of climbs. And he starts to perform a lot better. Even Arezzo, maybe in a couple of days, might be a stage for him.
Yeah, you never know. He's a bit of a puncher. He's a good one-day specialist. The Paris-Nice badges itself up as a series of classics, one after the other. The Tirreno-Adriatico really does feel more of a mini Grand Tour, and I think if we had the team time trial, it would have just about been the full complement of different kinds of stages. But I guess if you are going to at least keep yourself in the frame on some of the lumpier stuff, then you need to be a powerful rider, and Paul Martins definitely fills that gap. 31 years of age now, the German, riding for Lotto Jumbo. I do like the livery, I've got to say. This sort of retro style.
I don't actually like it that
don't
much.
You?
No.
But then again, I like.
It stands out.
I like MTN Quebec as well. You're not too keen on that either.
I don't mind MTN. You must be mixing me up with one of your other partners.
No, I don't know. Matt Stevens probably. Easy done. Paul Martins spinning away. It is good at sustaining power, Paul Martins. Oh, hello. But didn't have the best of approaches into that curve. Long view of our next finisher here, Dan.
Yeah, that is Arriga from IM Cycling. Not a rider I'm particularly familiar with, I have to say. I can only presume he's fairly new to the scene of professional racing. At the intermediate check, he was 86 at 13 seconds, so not likely to challenge our leader or indeed our top 20 here at the finish.
You do get performances popping out of the bag, as it were, but not normally in time trialling. It is such a specific discipline that you can more or less distill a selection, at least, of who you think might perform well. And Daniel Os's, although he wouldn't have been top of our list, not bad at all. That's not to say you can't have some surprises. I would be surprised if Os holds on for victory here today.
Well, I would be as well, but increasingly it's looking like he's, well, the longer time goes on, the stronger the ride looks from Daniel Os. He has been on some great form. We saw him, of course, at Strada Bianca on Saturday, right up there with the big favourites, you know, some huge names in cycling, and he's a big guy. So who knows, but like you said, Carlton, once we start to get the Sargents, the Peter Zagans, the Fabian Cancellara's rolling down the start ramp and towards the finish, we'll have a much better idea of just how good that ride was.
I'm fascinated to know how Louis Meintjes will finish.
Well, he went through the time check in 79th, 12 seconds down.
Well, there you are. That doesn't bode terribly well. I know that Meintjes, I beg your pardon, is the pronunciation, despite that there's no K in the middle there. He hasn't really got the backup, Meintjes, especially as they're considering him for the Tour de France and GCs later on. But it just seems that they're a bit spare when it comes to backup for Meintjes. I know that MT and Quebec are contesting the Tour of Langkawi at the moment. They've sent all their climbers over there, which it's a bit of a door slam shut for little Louis, I'm afraid.
Especially as they took the climb out of Langkawi due to road work.
That's true. There you are. So maybe a little bit of replanning for MTN. I don't know where the disconnect was there, but clearly I don't think that's a great way of managing your climbers, and especially your GC contenders. Meintjes needs a confidence boost, as any young man does in this sort of company, and it looks like he may not get it due to a lack of backup, because the climbers have gone somewhere where there's no climb. Anyway, sort yourselves out, MTN. You know we love you. Want you to do well. Eddie Boss, his time there, and Gruzdev, oh dear, he's suffering. You know, you never know quite when your form is going to come, but it is sparing more often than not at this time of year, and Gruzdev finds himself 41st. Glorious weather. I think the wind is ebbing despite the white horses, just as the waves approach the beaches here. Very difficult to get on this beach. Tell you about that in a minute. Os then remains our provisional leader ahead of Edvald Bosenhagen, 4 seconds. Grifko, 5 seconds adrift. Geschke, Irizar, and then a whole raft, flotilla almost, if that's the collective term, of time trialists logged within about 5 seconds of each other. On such a short course, it's always going to be tight. Nicky Terpstra goes well on a time trial, and I expect him to go well today. Yeah, he's a man who will be brimming with confidence at the moment, having won the Tour of Qatar for the second year in a row and taking the time trial there as well. As I said, it was on road bikes, which is quite traditional when you go out to the Middle East or a long way from Europe, just to cut down the cost for teams to get 2 lots of bikes out, or 3 for each rider. So it is slightly different when you go to a TT bike, but he has won prologues of this length before. I remember doing a race myself, the Stir Electro Tour.
So we're here, stage 1, 2015 at Tirreno-Adriatico. Just off the line, Nicky Terpstra, the champion from the Tour of Qatar. We'll take another quick break. We'll be back with more. You're watching Bein Sports. Welcome back to stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico, the 3rd race of the 2015 UCI World Tour. It's an individual time trial stage today, changed from the proposed 22.7 kilometer team time trial. Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd have your call. Let's send you back down to race level.
5th place, but it's very tight there at the top. There are 10 riders all within a second of each other. Bosenhagen still the fastest there. Terpstra at 1 second, but on the same time as Daniel Oss. So everything's still to play for that Dutchman. Svein Tuft just coming through in 41st place at 7 seconds. Canadian national champion, of course.
He is. And those of you watching over there in Canada, it's a pleasure to have your company. Don't forget that you can join in with the conversation today and go, come on, you Canucks. Didn't happen for you with Ejidal, but Svein Tuft really knows how to turn it on. He's an incredibly compact and powerful looking rider. He's not too small either. He really can stick it to them. There's Jesse Sargent on course as well. It's a nice head-to-head we're working at.
Yeah, the New Zealander there, not long since he went down the start ramp. Actually, it has been a little while. He should be coming through very soon at the intermediate check. He rolled down 1 minute after Nicky Terpstra, who is on your screens right now. Let's see if he's been able to keep that effort going. 1 second down at the intermediate check. Very hard to judge coming down this finish line just how far they've got to go, but I think Oss has done an incredible return leg. It's going to be close, or is it?
Well, you know, Oss's time, we keep saying it's under threat, but frankly, it's looking like it may well be set in stone at the moment. Nicky Terpstra is no slouch at this. Third quickest. Just 4 seconds down. So all it makes us do is salute Oss's time ever more readily. Quite remarkable. If you'd like to join the conversation, by the way, it's at Carlton Kirby, or indeed at Daniel Lloyd 1, DANIELLLOYD, so 3 L's in the middle, and the number 1. Grifko just gets edged. Nicky Terpstra, third quickest behind Eddie Boss at the moment. Edvald Bosenhagen will be delighted with that. He has ambitions for the Milan-San Remo, and that comes on very high authority. So yeah, expecting him to go well.
I told you not to tell you I said that.
Wasn't Dan Lloyd. Svein Tuft's time, and yet again, Oss has just, I think we'll call it 1 Oss power by the end of today. Remarkable. Svein Tuft coming in, he's no slouch at this sort of thing either. He's got a lot of power and he can deliver it, although you have to, of course, make that seamless. Rocking and rolling at the moment, and he's going to be, as you can see, mid to late 30s. 6:21. 6 minutes and 8 seconds. Looks massive now.
It's looking very good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for all your kind thoughts, by the way, on Twitter. It's always good to have your company and indeed your thoughts and indeed questions. If you'd like to ask anything, then please feel free. Peter Sagan, you know, I still can't get used to seeing him in yellow and blue.
No, it's going to take a while, having been in green for so long, but and of course we normally see him in his national champions jersey on the road, so it's one of the first times, in fact, outside of Torquato that we've had to we've got to see him in his actual trade team kit, which of course is new to him this year. Signed a 3-year deal with Tinkoff Saxo. This man Castroviejo, a winner of the prologue of the Tour of Romandy before, and what a time with him, 2nd place. Wasn't expecting that. He was 16th at the intermediate check, so he actually gained, well, he was exactly the same time as Oss on that homeward run. So a great time from Castroviejo. Movistar really going from strength to strength when it comes to racing against the clock.
Well, having teed themselves up for the time trial, which they would have done, BMC and Movistar, as well as Orica Greenedge, expect them to go well with some of their personnel a little bit later on. And maybe some of their former stars who, of course, now functioning elsewhere, like at MTN Quebecer. I wonder how Matt Goss might actually perform. We'll see. Back with Peter Sagan right now. Yes, it'll be an unfamiliar look tomorrow as well. He'll be in his national champions jersey. And unlike when he was racing at Cannondale, when the national flag was kind of hidden within the green or the blue stripe down the middle of their outfit, yes, he'll be allowed to wear the national colours, which I'm glad that Oleg Tinkoff has sanctioned. They're not sort of masking it within the team kit. They're proud to have national champions within their team. Here's a powerful look. Jesse Sargent. He's, do you know what? He's making this bike sing at the moment.
Yeah, let's see how much he left for this very last part. He's gone through the Flamme Rouge, indicating 1K to go, so he's very much on the homeward straight now. Has he 500 metres? What's that going to take him? 30 seconds or so. It's going to be quite tight, I think. Perhaps he's really started to gain some momentum in this second part of the course. I think this could be very, very close to Daniel Oss's time.
Jesse Sargent then on an absolute mission. He's flying. Good speed as well on the approach. And you can see, head down. Short-tailed helmet as well, which will help him at moments such as this. Just going to be outside of Oss's time, but it's going to be extremely tight. The top 5 for him. He's out the saddle. Still too far away, I think, to make that. Goodness me. Jesse Sargent spinning away. The clock almost having difficulty keeping up with him. 7 seconds adrift, and in fact in 10th place. Good effort, though.
Yeah, it's so deceptive, that finish straight, isn't it? Because... well, because it's so straight. You never know exactly how far they've still got to go to the finish line, and it's excruciating watching them, in fact, when they look to be so close. Here's our man, Peter Sagan. I can tell you, I was watching my split screen a few moments ago. He almost lost it round one of the corners. He clipped his pedal on the exit, almost lost the back end, just managed to hold it up.
I think we might have a look here.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, good unclipping. I don't know how tightly he sets his clips, but goodness me, it was... that was tidy work, wasn't it?
Well, I can tell you that despite that, he went through the intermediate check. He went through that intermediate check in first. He's our new leader there, ahead of Godin, who won the Paris-Nice Prologue a few years ago, riding for AG2R, and Bosenhagen. They're all on the same time. In fact, there's 5 guys on the same time at that intermediate check. So everything resting on this homeward stretch. Here is Godin. Let's see what he can do.
Well, he is going for it, but 66-1 was Peter Sagan for today at the top of the day. Well, we'll see what he does in a few moments' time. He's clearly on a mission. Godin as well is wrestling the bike at the moment, a team that needs cheering up for the time being, starting 1 man down. So short-handed for the remainder of this Tirreno-Adriatico. Godin. I'm just going to open our, oops, excuse me, just going to open our window, probably a little bit quicker than I should have done. Good job, I've still got my fingers. Godin hitting the, in fact, we can see from our position about 50 metres.
There's no point in opening our commentary position window because we're blocked. We're blocked down the long straight by a part of the finish line gantry. So as Carlton said, we can only see 50 metres, but it's excruciating yet again.
Here he comes.
It's going to be a good time.
Good effort.
For Godin, but not good enough. 5th place for him across the line. 5 seconds down. So we've said it before, we've said it a number of times before, but Daniel Oss has done an amazing second half of this race. So it's not even second half, it's the last third, really.
I didn't really think that such a short distance would be open to a negative split, but that's precisely what we've done. As you can see, the spittle-laced tongue of Godin coming across the line. Here is a man who is lit up and ready to go. It is not the prettiest time trialling form. He could be lower. His legs could be nearer to the frame. Nonetheless, Peter Sagan, whenever he gets on a bike, means business. 200 metres to go, and I think he's actually going to take the lead. There's Daniel Oss's time. He's got to realise that this is within reaching distance. Very tight indeed. Out of the saddle he comes. They're still screaming him on. Bjarne Riis getting very, very vocal. Just going to miss out Peter Sagan, but how close is this? Terrific performance by him. Second place for Sagan. 2 seconds adrift. Good effort. Dan, that was terrific.
Yeah, let's hope it's not another second place for him. Mind you, I guess that's better than third, which is seconds. Well, there is the Black Cat you were talking about. He has won prologues in the past, Peter Sagan. In fact, he beat Cancellara on home soil in the Tour of Switzerland just a couple of years ago, but it was slightly hillier there. But how much did that slip round the corner cost him? It must have upset his rhythm very slightly, but he slots into second place there, 2 seconds behind Daniel Oss, 2 seconds in front of the other 3 that are at 4 seconds. Castroviejo, Bosenhagen in 4th now, and Terpstra in 5th.
Magnus Brandl is about to deramp now. This is a man who could go well. He's, of course, been concerned with the hour record of late, and now he's got to turn his attention to channeling his attention and indeed his power, which, of course, he's been used to. You do, of course, go for the hour record on a time trial bike, so I guess he's had more time on the bike than most.
Yeah.
So 138 riders have now left the line. IM Cycling's Matthias Brandl, the last one to go. Peter Sagan with the second best time so far, all of them behind Daniel Oss. We'll be right back on Bein Sports. Stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico here on Bein Sports. Your current leader is Daniel Oss of BMC. Peter Sagan putting in a very good time just now. And Matthias Brandl, the last man to leave the line on your screen. Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd have your call. Let's get it down to race level.
Those final 10 kilometres, but they didn't bet on this man, did they?
No, they did not. You wouldn't bet on him today as well in this time trial, especially after his split. So it's sell, sell, sell if you're on one of those kind of sites. Nonetheless, Ian Stannard, fantastic season. I think it will already go down as a successful season, no matter what he does for the rest of the year.
Well, I think this is his big year. He's such a big, strong rider, as you can see on your screens right now. He's so perfectly suited to the Paris-Roubaix, which has never been won by a British rider. I think he's really got his sights set on that. Of course, the man in the news from his team and from Britain as well, who's also going for that, is Sir Bradley Wiggins. His last race for Team Sky will be at Paris-Roubaix. But in some ways, I wonder whether that can just, you know, go into the hands of someone like Ian Stannard or even Geraint Thomas. We saw it last year with Nicky Terpstra. He was kind of playing second fiddle to Tom Bonan, but slipped off towards the end and took his biggest victory of his career. And perhaps this man could do exactly the same this April.
Well, let's hope so. You know, considering his split time, it's not going to be too bad. What was he, down in the 80s? I think he'll be probably better than that this time. But here we are. And indeed found something. Got in the 50s, so beat Meintjes, incidentally. 16 seconds off the pace. So let's talk about negative splits, shall we? On such a short distance, I wasn't expecting it to be that significant, frankly. A sustained push rather than just holding something back, but it's clearly been the way to go for many.
Well, there's still a degree of pacing which you have to implement. Matthias Brandl has gone quickest at the intermediate check by 2 seconds. That is interesting.
It is. It's also scary. We told you that Matthias Brandl, being in a very select bunch who've having a go at the 1 hour record on time trial bikes these days, since rule changes by the UCI allowing just standard road time trialing bikes to be taken to the track. Nothing too unusual then in terms of the bikes. The days where you're allowed to essentially design your own bike, you remember Graham Aubrey and Chris Boardman with some very focused machinery. Well, now it's standard road time trialing bikes which you can take onto the track. And of course he spent a lot of time, has Brandl, on the bike of late, and indeed has been doing it very, very well. Here's Tyler Farrar. Now, this was an outside bet today, Tyler Farrar. We said the quick men might go well. Let's see how Tyler does. He's on a bit of a mission. You can see he's mouth agape right now. Can we get a surprise from Tyler? We just hooked back. That's not Tyler Farrar you're looking at the moment, I don't believe. So I'd like to get back to Tyler for his approach and indeed his finish. Meanwhile, back with Brandl, and Tyler just heading under the Flamme Rouge. It's not going to be. He's a K away. No, Matt Brandl, I beg your pardon. Oh, there we are. We've been diving all over the place. I'm sorry, picture-wise. Tyler Farrar just heading for the line, is he?
He will be, yeah. We haven't even got a view of him on our split screen right now. He comes across the line in 21st place at 9 seconds.
6:17.36. That, 9 seconds down for Tyler Farrar shows you a man you'd often think of as an out-and-out sprinter, able to deliver something on this course. But no podium today for Farrar, but nonetheless pretty handy. What about this one then? Matt Brandl. Right now, I never know whether it's to call him Brandl or Brandl.
Brandl, I think it is.
Goodness me. Take your pick, but I've been calling him Matt Brandl for such a long time. I don't think he minds. In fact, I'm going to ask him tonight. There you go. So 8 seconds time ticking down on the leaderboard, and he's going to get this. Oh, he has. Check it out. New leader and gets 2 seconds. Matt Brandl. Well, going for the 1 hour record has clearly carried some kind of time trialing form over to this short one.
That's a brilliant time from the Austrian rider there. As you said, he was the world hour record holder before Rowan Dennis managed to beat him, but he's just been getting stronger and stronger over the last few years. He first came on my radar back in the days when he rode for Geox as a very, very young rider. There we go, 2 seconds ahead of Daniel Oss. Peter Sagan a further 2 behind Tirreno-Adriatico. They're all good names, they're all good riders against the clock, and he's trumped them all. So the riders who've still got to come have got it all to do now. Let's just remind you, we've got Mallory, who's one of the biggest favourites, who's going to be setting off pretty soon, actually. Bodnar, Navadowska, Steve Cummings, and then perhaps it's really only the guys like Luke Durbridge and Cancellara who can really oust this man off top place.
I've got a sneaking feeling that Rigoberto Urán might pull something out of the bag today. Fourth in Tour de Lane and the prologue there. Bodnar, well, he was very good in Qatar. Mallory will be seeing fairly shortly. Did well in the Welter time trial. So, yeah, there's plenty to come here, not just the usual names to conjure with, although Fabian Cancellara, I reckon, will probably fancy it. It looked amazingly relaxed in the press conference yesterday. And when Cancellara's relaxed, everyone better be very scared. Scarponi, waiting for him now.
Former winner of this race, Michele Scarponi, presumably will be riding for Vincenzo Nibali over the forthcoming 5 road stages, should I say, before the race is bookended by that last time trial. Also a short one, less than 10 kilometres. It's been its traditional finish now for a number of years. We've seen some close battles actually on that last time trial. Not so much last year where Comstor had such a huge buffer going into it, but let's hope for a close race this year. This man getting on in years now. He's been a professional for a long time. He's served the doping ban, actually, one of the few to do that after the Operation Puerto investigation of 2006. And, well, round about where we'd expect him to come in a time trial. 61st place at the moment, 20 seconds down on Matthias Brindley.
It is time trial day. Jens Maurice, one of the Orica Green Edge boys, about to come off the ramp. Orica Green Edge always function extraordinarily well when it comes to team time trials. And in fact, they had teed themselves up to do exactly that. Maybe boss the event early on. Strength in numbers, well, does spin out to strength individually. And we'll see how Jens Maurice attacks the course today. Off the ramp he goes. And in fact, I'm just looking down to see when our last rider will de-ramp, and it's going to be in about half an hour's time, just a little bit less than that. So at 16:04 local time, so yeah, in about 25 or so minutes. So we're nearing the end of the proceedings for this opening day. How much of an effect, how much of an impact, Dan, do you think it's going to have, the fact that the course has been altered? Time trial gone, some big yawning gaps between some of the main contenders expunged, really. It's going to be a lot narrower going into tomorrow's opening stage proper.
Yeah, it will favour some, it will have hindered others. We walked past Matt White, Director Sportif for the Orica Green Edge team yesterday when we were having a quick walk around, and yeah, he's disappointed first and foremost because whenever there's a team time trial, they go out and out for it, and they put in the best team possible to try and go for the win. They've won it here a couple of times. In fact, it was I think their first season, was it, that they took the win here. Our first year commentating, in fact, for the organisers. And it also doesn't do any favours to Adam Yates, who's their GC man here, the young British twin of Simon. Simon's racing over in Paris-Nice, I believe. Adam is here, and it's a good climber. He won the Tour of Turkey last year. He's still developing. But, of course, he could have expected to go into the other stages with a buffer on some of his key rivals due to the strength of his team. But as it is an individual event at the start, he will have conceded some to the likes of Contador, I'm sure, as we go into tomorrow.
Just waiting for Duarte of Colombia to come through. Looking at Kinziato, I believe.
Mallory.
Beg your pardon, Mallory. Yeah, there we are. Of course, with his champion's stripes upon his back. Jens Maurice is rolling a clock upon him as we speak. Just double checking here. Yeah, it is Mallory. I was confused by our graphic at the moment, momentarily. Thank you. there we are. I suddenly think to myself, what? Thank heaven for that. Yes, is a time trial champion, of course, for his nation. Thank goodness. Wondered where we were going there. Thank you for your kind thoughts, by the way, on Twitter. Once again, if you'd like to ask any questions of us, then feel free to do so. This is a nasty little turn. Squeal of the brakes. And the brakes aren't as focused on a time trial bike as perhaps they are on a road bike. And you often hear them squealing and struggling.
Yeah, well, especially these days, because so many manufacturers are hiding the brakes underneath the bottom bracket there. You can see if you look at the chainstays just above the rear disc wheel, it's completely bare. The brake isn't there. That's exactly the same here, I believe, on the Scott bike, although it might be hidden there in the chainstays. But just, you know, trying to hide it for increased aerodynamics does mean that it doesn't work quite so well, which it doesn't matter quite so much. You don't need the brakes like you do in a road race, but still, if you do start and find yourself in a little bit of difficulty, you need to grab some brake, it can catch you out. It's either grabbing too much or just not working at all. So, yeah, not quite as efficient as you said.
So we're going to take another break here. You're watching stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. You see Maurice and Mallory on your screen right now. Numbers 147 and 148 off the line today. When we do get to the end, it will be Alberto Contador who will be the last man off the line. Still a bunch of high-profile riders to go. Vincenzo Nibali, Roberto Urán, Nairo Quintana, all still yet to leave the line. So we have a lot to go here in stage 1 of the race. And in fact, I think we're going to stay with the coverage. Let's go ahead and send it back to Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd.
So Brindley, well, he is up and coming. I guess it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Daniel Oss has never been quite so good, I wouldn't say, in a pro. Peter Sagan in third is one that you perhaps would have thought would be a top 5. But here's Mark Cavendish, as I said this morning, tweeting that he's been very sick recently and not going to be riding quite as well today in the prologue as we've seen him do so in other prologues in the past. He was 39th at the Czech, 7 seconds down, so not disastrous by any means. And we had a quick chat this morning, so at least your power to weight will be better when you're back on form.
Bless him.
Easy way to lose weight, that. Quick 4-day stomach bug, a couple of kilos down.
Unfortunately, he has... when it was the other end last year, he just could not get anything in his tummy, and as a result, he was at such a power deficit that I think forced a withdrawal. Can you remember which race it was when he just couldn't basically get even fluids down? It was a right mess.
I don't remember, no.
Mark Cavendish heading for the line, and this is a very gutsy performance by Mark Cavendish, and it's a very good time as well. Only 10 seconds down for the sprinter. He's not been well. Expect him to perform then well tomorrow. Yet again, tummy upsets, put that to one side, and well, actually don't. Let's just include it in our analysis of that. Very good.
So Mark Cavendish crossing the line at a time of 6 minutes and 16 seconds, 10 points off the lead, but down in the final standings thus far. We'll take another quick break. We'll be back with more. You're watching stage 1 of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico on Bein Sports. Welcome back to Bein Sports coverage of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico. We have a new leader, Adriano Mallory, crossing the line in a time of 6 minutes and 4 seconds to take the lead from Matt Brandl and Daniel Oss. We'll send it back down to the race now. Carlton Kirby and Daniel Lloyd on the call.
Contador to that, just in case.
Yeah,
he has won plenty of prologues in the past.
Welcome, Mortimer. Well, this is going to be a half-decent time, but Mallory's time absolutely outstanding. As soon as he came to the indented hoardings, as it were, suddenly the realisation washed over us that Mallory was going to nick this one potentially. A 6:04. Bizarrely, that time plucked out of the sky earlier on, and it looks like it might well stick. We don't have a crystal ball here, but yeah, maybe we could use one in the future. 6:19, 40th place for Bauke Mollema, but he's in good company. Just underneath the Flamme Rouge. Our next rider is Luka Mezgec. I like Luka.
Yeah, he's a great rider, isn't he? And sort of outshone really in his team at the moment by Kittel and John Degenkolb. He won that final stage at the Giro d'Italia last year in amazing fashion against some very big names. Buani, who'd been on amazing form throughout that 3 weeks. See if he can put himself into a position where he could potentially go into the jersey here. He might not be too far away from the top places in Arezzo in a couple of days' time, despite it being an uphill finish. He's a strong guy. He's kind of similar, really, in terms of capabilities to his teammate John Degenkolb. They both get over the small climbs pretty well.
Oh, it'd be good to see them resting into Arezzo. There's an uphill finish to a little circuit, so 5 laps uphill every time, and it'll help the strongman, of which Metzgetz is, although his time trialing abilities, as you can see, he goes straight into 101. That was my room number last night. How bizarre. Danios setting an early benchmark of 6 minutes 08. Peter Sagan had a crack at it, but yes, we've had some amazing efforts as well. That is Brandl. Also there, Os bettering Peter Sagan, or Sagan failing to trim Os's time. It's 2 seconds outside. Mallory, though, 2 seconds underneath, so by the same margin, he leads. Italian time trial champion, enjoying life as you do. This is Masej Bodnar, and still got a way to go, but nonetheless, so is the club.
Yeah, I can tell you, though, that at the intermediate check, this man was fastest, and he's a man on form. Second to Nicky Terpstra in the Tour of Qatar time trial and overall. Arne Vatinkov Saxo here, having moved over from Team Cannondale. Can he hold on? Mallory was particularly strong in this homeward straight. It's going to be a close one.
It's going to be very close indeed. Wait for the hoardings, but he's going to push him all the way. Mallory's time, 6 minutes 4 seconds. It may well come down to little split seconds later on. Here's the line. It's going to be close, just outside, but a new second place with a 6:06, and it is coming down to split seconds here.
Yeah, again going to show how strong Mallory was in that second part. That man Bodnar 2 seconds up, on 3 seconds in fact, up on Mallory at the intermediate check. He lost 5 to him over the final, what, just 2.5 minutes.
Bodnar and Bradley locked together, just separated by tenths of a second. Indeed, perhaps hundredths. Meanwhile, looping back down onto the course, Steve Cummings is on course and underway. Good signing this. Brian Smith, who is an erstwhile colleague of mine on other races. Steve Cummings, one of his big signings. Of course, he's Tyler Farrar. Edvald Bosenhagen has already gone well today. 7th quickest now, Eddie Bosch, but good effort by him in 8 seconds adrift. What can Steve Cummings do?
He could do anything, really. He's always very, very good at this time of year. He spent the last few years with the BMC squad, having moved over from Team Sky. So he's made a move away from the World Tour. He's already had a win to his name this year. In fact, he beat Alejandro Valverde in a hilly stage or hilly one-day race in Mallorca at the start of the year. So the sky's the limit, really, for Steve. Sometimes he doesn't get it perfectly right on the day, but he has won time trials in the past couple of years. In fact, he won the Tour de Med last year after... I think it was winning the time trial. It might have been to his teammate Taylor Phinney, but he could go very well, Steve Cummings. We should keep you updated with the intermediate checks.
Johan Le Bon spinning it up for Francis de Jure.
He was good at the intermediate, Le Bon. Third through there, 3 seconds down.
Well, that's why we're dwelling on him at the moment. He's wrestling the bike and finding the hoardings, as you can see. I don't think he's hiding from the wind, which seems to have ebbed ever so slightly. That may well just help some of the late runners this time by. It's going to be a decent time for Johan Le Bon.
Very good.
And here it is, top 10. 7th place, 6:12, 8 seconds off. Tidy. Well, we said there may well be some surprises today. Where was Mark Cavendish's? What was Mark Cavendish's time in the end? What was his deficit?
He was 20th when he came across the line. He's now down to 24th, but 12 seconds down. So nothing, well, pretty respectable time given how things have been.
Huge cheer goes up for Vincenzo Nibali. This is a man who last year said he came out of winter with a bit of a deficit. Well, that's true. His team started having a go at him. They started answering questions, and in fact, the real one, where he shoved the words back down the throat of his team chief, came, of course, in Sheffield in the Tour de France, stage 2. That's where he just went from strength to strength. Well, he says he's stronger earlier, but also he's talking himself down, Lloyd. He's just in that mood at the moment to try and hide a little bit. That said, Contador and Quintana equally talking their chances down, but we've got an amazing spectacle of all 3 Grand Tour winners from last year going head-to-head in this Tirreno-Adriatico. And of course, Vincenzo Nibali, as Tour de France champion, is a vital part.
Well, he's won this race before, Carlton, hasn't he? But that...
Tour de France champion Vincenzo Nibali leaving the line, just the last rider to leave the line. Still about 13 more riders left to go before we've had everyone onto the course. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more. Once again, you're watching the Tirreno-Adriatico, the 3rd race of the UCI 2015 World Tour on Bein Sports. Opening stage of the 2015 Tirreno-Adriatico here on Bein Sports. The action is picking up. Vincenzo Nibali, the Tour de France champion, the last one off the line. But we're getting down to the business end. Upcoming Rigoberto Urán, Nairo Quintana, and Alberto Contador. Let's send it back down to race level. You're watching Bein Sports.
Through that intermediate check at kilometre 3 in a time of 3 minutes 42. That gives him 22nd place there. So it doesn't look like it's going to be the day for Steve Cummings. Might slip into the top 10 if he's left enough in reserve for this final straight towards the finish, but as we keep saying, it's excruciatingly long, and this zoomed in camera here really foreshortens how far it is for them to get towards the finish.
Yes, the police bike is taken away. I'll just have a look and see where the exit is, but rather shrouding us at the moment. Police bike goes straight through. He has. 6th place, 6:10, and only giving away 6 seconds.
Well, he was faster, I believe, than he's one of the. In fact, he's probably the fastest rider from this intermediate check to the finish. So good ride with Steve Cummings. He paced that very well indeed.
Back to Vincenzo Nibali, massive hero in this part of the world. His team moderately troubled. A couple of question marks hanging over Astana at the moment in terms of their licence, but I think. Certainly in the past, Katusha, of course, were threatened with suspension, ended up taking it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport and then being allowed to contest the Giro d'Italia. I think that year when they did come back, essentially, they'd never been away. But I think we had an extra team on the Giro d'Italia. Don't think anyone wants to make the same mistake. So despite the questions, Astana very much part of this season, and Vincenzo Nibali, I wonder if that's a distraction to him, we'll see. Just passing on the other side of the road. I always wonder, to be honest, how much help it is to see other riders on the other side.
When you've got a rear light on there. What's that?
Yes, you're right. I don't know.
Probably the transponder, I guess.
Yeah, possibly. Certainly doesn't need it for winter riding. Not today, anyway. We are very much coming out of the winter, although shocking weather, we remind you, actually caused a course change. Sepp van Mark sailing around this little double phase that's not nice and escapes out of the back of it. A lot of air horns going off, trying to welcome Vincenzo Nibali on the other side. They do like their heroes here. There we are. Respectful round of applause for Sepp van Mark.
Yeah, good time by Sepp. 7th place at the moment, just before he swung around that corner. 3 minutes 40 seconds, 4 seconds down on Bodnar, who still leads. Only 1 second down on Mallory, who leads at the finish. Vincenzo Nibali, 42nd place there at 8 seconds. That's the man on your screen now, just coming underneath the Flamme Rouge there with 1 kilometre to go.
So 1 kilometre and a deficit as he went through about 50 seconds. So let's see how he goes. It's going to be reasonably tight. It's going to be a decent time. Mallory's time, though, outstanding at a 6:04. If Nibali could just get close, then it's the first amongst the true GC contenders to have drawn the line. And it'd be a question then of how the likes of Urán, Quintana, and indeed Contador respond to it, what they can produce. Vincenzo Nibali, open-mouthed. Well, you know, if he said he was going to go for a quiet start of the season, anything but, and the crowd respond to the calling of his name by the local announcer here. And Nibali, not the quickest today, but just remember his time, because it's going to be important in comparison to those who are still to come. Line approaching, not a bad one. Well, there we are, 6:15, gives away 11 seconds. I think he'll take that.
Yeah, I think he'll be pleased with that. Another rider who has made up some time in the second section of the course. As I said, he was 42nd. Or at least he is now at the intermediate check, but made up some time towards the finish. 18th now, 11 seconds. He'd already lost 8 seconds by the intermediate, so strong second part for Vincenzo Nibali, and looks to be going a little bit better than he was this time last year.
Sepp van Mark, back end of the powerhouse. Looking at it right now. Do you think he's going to take that extra step forward and win one?
I think he could do.
The classics?
You know, the entire country of Belgium will be encouraging him this year now that Tom Bonen's taken a crash and will not be competing in those spring classics. So there'll be some pressure on this man's shoulders. He leads a Dutch team, of course, into those races. Quite a strong team backing he's got as well. He was the nearly man last year, I think top 5 in pretty much every cobbled classic. And he's so strong. We saw that on Strada Bianca on Saturday. Time trial's not his forte, 13 seconds down in 31st place. So he reversed what Nibali and Cummings did. Lost more time in that second part than he did in the first.
Meanwhile, back out on course, BMC and Greg van Avermaet, another man whose name we conjure with when it comes to the classics. GBA, giving it the old GBH.
He's doing a good time.
He is.
Third place at the check there, 2 seconds down, so he's not hanging about.
He's not. Good pace. Good cadence, and looks absolutely ripped and ready, doesn't he?
Well, he's been on great form already this season. We saw him going well at the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, won by Ian Stannard. He was second just a few days ago in the Strada Bianca. Big year again for Greg van Avermaet. I was reading an interview with him in the magazine recently. He's very quickly becoming known as the nearly man of the one-day classics. He's come so close on so many occasions to that big win. It's never quite come his way. He'll be leading the BMC team for the majority of those one-day races this year, even though they've got Philippe Gilbert in their ranks.
Sam Bennett just crossing the line a few moments ago with the 6:24, the Irishman. Rubiano will be next home for Team Colombia. It's Uran, though, that we'll be concerned with. And of the Colombians who are here, not from Team Colombia, you understand, but and also, of course, Quintana for Movistar. What about Uran? While we just dwell on him for a few moments, how do you think he'll go?
Well, we saw him really excel in the races against the clock last year. You remember that stage into the wine-growing region in West Italy there, his name escapes me, but he
Barolo.
Barolo, yeah, he absolutely dominated that time trial, really eclipsed everybody else in the race, which was a little bit of a surprise. It was a rolling time trial, but nevertheless. But he came up against an incredible Quintana last year, and so ended up in second place overall for the second year running. I think he'll be there or thereabouts. He's going for the Giro again this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he's going in the mountains. But this man on a great ride today.
Greg van Avermaet on full chat and not using the police bike. It's not close enough. I think there was a suggestion by some that the police bikes were just getting too involved. Right now, Greg van Avermaet is charging, and it's going to be close. Look at this.
Second place.
6:06. And in fact, I believe we've got 3 riders who are separated now by just tenths and hundredths of a second. Van Avermaet, Bodmar and Brandley all on 6:06 something. But it's Van Avermaet who is running in second place on the splits. Phenomenal.
Well, was not expecting that. We did mention how well he was going at the intermediate check, but you quite often find that the punch